Our police dispatcher handled the call, and they sent out our road sergeant, 2 patrol officers. They were the initial responders.
Officers arrived to find a dark house with indications that the residents are more than usually security conscious. But there is no answer to their knocks or calls.
When the officers got there, the door was ajar, I believe, and the Sergeant Reinheimer, he observed a .357 revolver laying on the floor. They really didn't know what was going on, just somebody had been shot. They knew that. The gun's laying there. So the sergeant unloaded the gun, he secured the gun, took possession of it. You go to a call of a shooting and you see a gun laying there, pretty much you have to secure it because they didn't know if there was a shooter in the house.
Not knowing what to expect, the officers proceed carefully up the stairs and see light coming from one bedroom. Opening the door, they discover a gruesome scene.
She was very distraught, emotional. She was covered in blood, and Mr. Simcoe was laying there, basically covered in blood. It appeared he was deceased.
It's a chaotic scene, and though police tried to interview Julene to find out what happened, they quickly decide she must be checked for injury at the local hospital.
The police know they've got to remove Julene Simcoe from the scene. She's too upset and emotional to give them any information. But still, even though she's hysterical, she happens to remember some very specific details.
At the hospital, Julene is diagnosed with situational anxiety, but no physical trauma is detected.
Finally, when she's in the company of a Vermilion police officer, she starts to talk.
So you fall asleep, and what wakes you up?
A noise. I thought my husband was shooting or something.
Julene has gone upstairs because she's having trouble sleeping in bed with Jeremy. But when she's awoken by the noise, she heads downstairs to see what's going on.
He was laying in the bed.
Jeremy was laying in the bed? Okay.
She claimed she felt her husband's body that was cold. She felt something on it. It was wet. This is kind of where this case gets confusing.
Did you see anybody else?
I heard somebody.
I'm sorry, what?
I heard somebody.
Police find several bullet holes in the bedroom wall. They wonder if a gunfight has taken place in the room, a gunfight Jeremy has lost. But Julene eventually explains the holes.
I heard something, like something falling, or I thought it was in the hallway. So I grabbed the gun and I went by the end of the bed and I just shot at the door. I thought if there was anybody that was coming up or anybody around, he always said, just you know, if there was ever somebody, just to shoot the gun because if somebody hears a gun shooting, they're probably not going to come towards it.
They had a lot of guns in the house. The fact that she shot the gun in the house, she said that normally that her husband would shoot coyotes from the bedroom window there, and so it was not uncommon.
Any animal, they would just shoot, and they were hunters.
The gunshots at night, that would serve as a very clear message to keep out.
We never really had problems with them per se, maybe a few disturbance calls out there with noise or things that were going on at the house, but they weren't people that were known to us as far as creating trouble or problem people.
Nevertheless, it's known and remarked upon by friends and co-workers that you don't drop in on Jeremy Simcoe unannounced.
To actually have somebody break into Jeremy's, you probably have to have a lot of guts to do that.
Short of murder, nothing involving guns is uncommon at the Simcoe property. Friends report that they even have a sniper rifle, complete with tripod.
They're security-conscious people, no question about it. To outsiders, it might seem extreme.
Julene and Jeremy Simcoe have cameras, motion detectors, alarms of all kinds, as well as 4 large dogs, each one meaner than the last.
When you pull into the driveway, a sound wouldn't go off and he would know when you were there. He was really protective of everything, and he should be because he had a lot of money into what he had there. They're on their own. That road was very quiet, but he had all that security, and rightfully so, because when you own a business, your equipment getting stolen, that's your livelihood.
But the Simcoes are not hermits, nor are they antisocial. They are regarded by neighbors as generally friendly people and are known for the events they hold on their property. Their annual summer event, the Picnic Pork Roast Party, is in its second year, and they also hold a big Halloween bonfire just a month before Jeremy's death. But after the morning of November 18th, 2009, they will be known for something else entirely.
What would drive somebody to actually commit such a serious crime? Sometimes a damaged human psyche is like a tinder bomb. At any moment, it can burst into flame.
At Consumer Cellular, we pride ourselves on getting you the exact same nationwide coverage as the leading carriers for up to half the cost. But don't worry, we've got a lot more than that going for us. Woo! Like this beautiful store in Arizona, for example. It's the perfect place for me to tell you a little bit more about our phones and how they can become your phones. You name it, we probably got it. We have the top smartphones from all the major companies. If it's state-of-the-art cameras you want with space-age metal housing, we got them. If you want a smartphone with lots of bells and whistles but won't break the bank, we've got that too. We even have flip phones like the Iris Flip. If you're someone that doesn't need all that mumbo-jumbo and just wants something simple. And now, we even have watches.
We do.
No matter what device you choose, you'll be happy to know that if your data needs change,
No problem.
with our Smart Flex feature, you don't have to sweat it. Like say you're on a road trip out west and end up using a bunch of data. We can simply flex you up to the next data tier for as little as $5. Then, when you get home, you can flex right back down with no penalty, so you only pay for what you actually need.
With Consumer Cellular, you get the exact same nationwide coverage as the leading carriers for up to half the cost.
I know what you're thinking. What if I don't have one of these amazing stores in my town yet? Can I get these phones sent to me?
Yes, you can.
Will our award-winning customer service help me switch over or add a line for $15 to make my own family plan?
Of course they will.
Is it easy?
Easy as pie.
See that tower out there? It's a beauty. And there are thousands more like it, working hard for me and you, supplying 5G coverage to this beautiful nation of ours. We know how important coverage is. That's why we offer a risk-free guarantee. If you're not satisfied within 30 days of activation, you can pay nothing. Oh, look.
New customers save $50 when you sign up today. Call 800-311-5340. Find us in Target or visit consumercellular.com to switch today.
She knows what she's talking about. Pick up the phone.
Hi, I'm Mike Rowe, and I've spent the last 30 years traveling all over this country. I had a lot of fun along the way, but I worked really hard. And today, I'm not just thinking about the next dirty job. I'm thinking about how to protect the money I earn. So I started paying more attention to all those gold commercials, and that got me thinking if maybe I should diversify my portfolio. I went looking for answers, and I found them at U.S. Money Reserve. They have 2 former U.S. Mint directors on hand. They showed me the money. They answered all my questions, and they gave me the information I needed to make an informed decision. So if you're just getting started, ask for a gold information kit from U.S. Money Reserve. It's absolutely free. There's no obligation. Call the number on the screen. The experts at U.S. Money Reserve are standing by to answer any questions you might have. I don't know if gold is right for you or not. All I know for sure is that today, it's not enough to simply work hard. Today, you also have to save smart.
Drive Time has a big announcement. An even easier way to buy a car. You make the deal yourself.
I made the deal myself.
It lets you customize the real down payment and monthly payment of the car you want to buy.
It's the Drive Time Real Deal Maker.
Get the real deal at drivetime.com.
One more rep to go, buddy.
Emmett Smith.
You know it, and I know you missed another game.
I want to watch, but TV is so expensive.
Get a Tableau device, and you can watch live sports for free.
It sounds like fantasy football.
No, it's Tableau. You can pause, record, and rewind, so you'll never miss a play. You need to hurry up and get it today.
Okay. You always rushing?
Tableau. Learn more at TableauTV.com. It's not fantasy. It's a smart play.
Confused by the Medicare ABCs? If you have Original Medicare, then you have Parts A and B. Have you considered Part C? Medicare Part C is sometimes known as a Medicare Advantage plan. If you only have Medicare Parts A and B, there are 3 things you should do. 1. Call the number on your screen. 2. Give the licensed insurance agent your zip code. 3. See what Part C plans with benefits are available to you. 1, 2, 3. It's that easy. Call now to enroll during the Medicare annual enrollment period. There may be a plan available in your area with benefits, but you won't know unless you 1. Call the number on your screen now. 2. Give the licensed insurance agent your zip code. 3. See what Part C plans with benefits are available to you. Everyone on Medicare can call today for a free Medicare benefits review. The call is free. There's no obligation.
Call 800-211-6057. That's 800-211-6057. Call now.
One slip-up exposed their deadly secrets. Investigate the key downfalls.
The stupid things that this man did.
Of the most ruthless criminals.
This was crucial evidence.
A Killer's Mistake on True Crime Network.
In a small Ohio community, a man is murdered in his own bed. His terrified wife finds the body and fires her gun to scare off the intruder she hears skulking around the house. And so begins a police investigation on a scale rarely seen in Lorain County. Once Julian Simcoe has been taken to the hospital for examination, and police are satisfied there's no active shooter in the house, investigators secure the scene and begin gathering physical evidence. Investigators trace the trajectory of every bullet fired on the scene, including the killing shot and every discharge made by Julian Simcoe to scare away the intruder she claims to have heard. They scour the house for DNA samples and other forensic evidence to find out who, other than Jeremy and Julene, has recently been present there.
Meanwhile, it's the job of the investigators to put together the most complete picture of Julene and Jeremy's life before the shooting. Neighbors say they are an uncommonly close couple, and rarely did you see one without the other. Joined at the hip is something police heard a lot during their questioning.
Not only did the couple seem to spend every moment together at home, they also work together at the Simcoe family tree business. This kind of arrangement does work for some couples, but most people need their own space at least some of the time.
They appear to love each other. They did everything together. Everyone has their lives, and no one really knows what goes on behind closed doors.
As investigators dig deeper, a darker picture emerges.
Police hear tales that Jeremy could be controlling in the workplace. A friend and former co-worker describes several instances of verbal abuse. Julene, however, never fights back.
Investigators dig into the victim's past and discover that Jeremy has run afoul of the law a number of times in his youth, mostly on charges of assault or menacing.
Evidently, in his younger days, Jeremy is prone to jealousy and badly beats Julene's ex-boyfriend. Jeremy has a softer side too, though, as most people do. Julene's friend, Jean Marie Becker, tells of the times that Jeremy was kind to her son. According to her, he would have made a great father.
The way he was with my son was amazing. He was so kind and informative and really engaging. My son was really young at the time, and he was showing him his goose, because Jeremy had all these animals and chickens, and just teaching my son what tree is this on his property. And he was like such a nurturer.
Friends say that Jeremy and Julene want to have children of their own, but aren't able to.
It was nice. He just was great to me. I wish I would have known Jeremy a lot longer. And I remember I had cut my finger on a log, and he patched it up, and he was just the nicest person ever. And I have a really bad scar on my finger, and I just think about him all the time. But he was just kind and always, just nice. And that's how I met him, who he was then. And he just loved the outdoors and hunting. But the way he was with my son, it was nice. It was comforting.
Meanwhile, investigators are sparing no effort to gather the facts.
We got a lot of leads and tips. We spent probably a good solid years just checking leads as they would come. We pretty much canvassed the neighborhood, talked to everybody in the area. There was a man that ended up being a witness in the trial, and he had been involved in firearms activity in the past. He had some incidents with us involving DUIs and domestics and things like that. So we've been at his house, and he lived across the street, but we investigated him, and we couldn't show where he was involved in any of this.
Dead ends notwithstanding, investigators pore diligently through a list of potential suspects. At the top of the list is the prowler Julene says she hears on the morning of the murder. And a neighbor reports a strange figure is seen on the street 2 nights prior to the shooting.
Do you have any idea who might have come in there? I mean, do you have any suspects at all?
The neighbor with the other big barn, he said there was some kid, a big kid, walking down the street. And then Jeremy said, yeah, I saw him too.
But despite much investigation by police, the mysterious figure is never identified or questioned. There are reports of a suspicious vehicle parked at odd hours in the neighborhood around the time of the murder. It's been spotted more than once. Police try to determine whether the person or people inside the vehicle are either suspects or witnesses to the crime. But the answer turns out to be something else entirely.
It was an abandoned school, and it turned out that, I can't remember if it was the husband or wife, but there was a little bit of out-of-marriage romance, like a little affair was going on there, and we ended up finding who the car was, and it wasn't related, and I guess the people ended up having some issues because the husband and wife didn't know about it.
We were kind of sneaking around because my divorce hadn't gone through yet, and so we didn't want to be out in public a whole lot. And I remember reading about it in the paper, and
Sure.
you had put, or whoever wrote the article, put about my white Hummer being there, and of course everybody at church freaked out, my parents freaked out, and the whole thing blew up in my face.
In-depth investigations often cause some collateral damage, and that's the case here. The police can't afford to ignore anything.
We got a lot of leads and tips, and like I said, we spent probably a good solid years just checking leads as they would come.
Jolene herself makes out a list of half a dozen people she thinks might possibly have been involved.
She includes a man who had worked for the Simcoes and who Jolene claims is in some trouble. But the man is quickly discounted as a possible suspect.
And then, less than a week after the murder of her husband, Julene Simcoe reports another shocking development.
We basically had the house secured from Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then they didn't get the key on Friday, but apparently Saturday they got the key to the house. So they went back to the house, and we had no contact with them Saturday. And Sunday they called and said the house was broken into again.
Could this latest intruder be the same person who shot Jeremy Simcoe? As ever, police can't ignore the possibility, even though evidence is thin on the ground. And what evidence investigators do find on the scene is less than convincing.
At the top of the safe, it was like somebody pried it, like pry marks and things from this fireplace poker. And you really couldn't break into a safe like that with a fire. And then when the safe was open, we actually found a tip of the fireplace poker in there. So we actually had a guy who works on safes, and it looked like it was a staged job.
Even if Jolene had staged the break-in, it doesn't mean anything one way or the other about the murder.
It might well have been a way for her to bring police back to the house to have a presence there so she could feel safe, even if temporarily.
Police get a lot of tips in a big case like this. There's a story that a Simcoe family friend told police in 2014 that Jeremy was involved with a drug dealer. Investigators tracked this tip to a heavily tattooed ex-con who, as it turns out, has never heard anything about it and knows nothing about Jeremy Simcoe. Another false lead.
And demonstrating conclusively that while the mills of justice in rural Ohio may grind slowly, they grind exceedingly fine. No one will be charged for the murder of Jeremy Simcoe for almost 5 years.
Hi, my name is Damian Clark. If you have both Medicare and Medicaid, I have some really encouraging news that you'll definitely want to hear. Depending on the plans available in your area, you may be eligible to get extra benefits with the Humana Medicare Advantage Dual Eligible Special Needs Plan. Most plans include the Humana Healthy Options Allowance, a monthly allowance to help pay for eligible groceries, utilities, rent, and over-the-counter items, like vitamins, pain relievers, first aid supplies, and more. The Healthy Options Allowance is loaded onto a prepaid card each month, and whatever you don't spend carries over from each month. You can pay nothing for covered prescriptions all year long, even name brand drugs. All plans have $0 copays for covered preventive dental services, which include 2 free cleanings a year, as well as fillings. They may also have vision coverage, including vision exams, and a yearly allowance towards eyewear, such as lenses or contacts. Even hearing coverage, which includes routine hearing exams and coverage towards hearing aids. You'll even have a $0 copay for routine vaccines and telehealth visits. Plus, your doctor, hospital, and pharmacy may already be part of our large Humana networks. So call the number on your screen now to speak with a licensed Humana sales agent. If you're eligible, they can even help enroll you over the phone in a Humana Medicare Advantage Dual Eligible Special Needs Plan. When you choose Humana, you'll find the benefits and support that our members have asked for, like a monthly allowance to help pay for eligible groceries, utilities, rent, and over-the-counter items. Prescriptions where you could pay nothing. You could get $0 copays for covered preventive dental services, vision, even hearing coverage. And our large networks of doctors, hospitals, and pharmacies. So call the number on your screen now to speak with a licensed Humana sales agent to see if you qualify to enroll in a plan with extra benefits. Wouldn't you love benefits like a monthly allowance? To help pay for eligible groceries, utilities, rent, and over-the-counter items. Covered prescriptions where you can pay nothing all year long, even for the name brand ones. Just think of what benefits like these can do for your health and your life. So if you have Medicare and Medicaid, call the number on your screen now and speak with a licensed Humana sales agent. If you're eligible, they can even help enroll you over the phone in a Humana Medicare Advantage Dual Eligible Special Needs Plan. And remember, annual enrollment ends on December 7th. So call now. Humana, a more human way to healthcare.
Showing up, being there.
How can I help?
It's how people see you. It's how you lead your life. At United Healthcare, being reliable is what we're all about too. So now that it's Medicare annual enrollment, turn to us for coverage and support you can count on. Call now to learn more about AARP Medicare Advantage plans from United Healthcare. Our plans are designed for all ages and stages of Medicare, with benefits built to fit your life, like $0 annual physical exams, lab tests, and preventive care like mammograms and colonoscopies. And you'll get more for your Medicare dollar with $0 copays on covered routine dental services, a $0 eye exam and an allowance for eyewear, and $0 copays on hundreds of prescription drugs, all for a low or $0 monthly premium. At United Healthcare, we know being reliable is all about taking that extra step to be there for others. It's why we're committed to being there for you every step of the way. Give us a call to learn more about your options designed to fit your budget and lifestyle. And to help make your Medicare experience simpler, you'll get the all-in-one U card. It's your member ID and much more. Show your U card when you visit your primary care provider, dentist, or eye doctor, or fill a prescription at the pharmacy. It also opens doors to Medicare Advantage's largest national provider network. If you have any of these chronic conditions, be sure to ask about United Healthcare's Chronic Special Needs Plan. Medicare annual enrollment ends December 7th. See why we're America's most chosen Medicare Advantage brand. Call or click to connect with United Healthcare today about an AARP Medicare Advantage plan. Showing up, being there. It's who you are. At United Healthcare, we'll be there too, with coverage you can rely on for your whole life ahead.
Coming up next on True Crime Network.
In rural Ohio, a young wife makes a horrifying discovery when she finds her husband shot to death in their bedroom. In an area where prowlers are common, investigators have no shortage of potential suspects. But even the seasoned investigators in the case can't predict where their clues will lead. One Vermilion officer has done some work with Jeremy, and when Julene announces a small party or wake for her husband, less than a week after the murder, the officer is encouraged to attend.
Basically just asked him to kind of listen to see if he picked anything up and started talking. And at one point, she just told a group of people that she wishes he could tell what really happened.
And then, only weeks after the murder, Julene confounds her friends.
A lot of people were struck by the fact that she went on a cruise right after the murder, and she took her stepbrother, who she was very close with. And, it was kind of like, okay, well, your husband was just murdered and you went on a cruise. To me, it was sort of like people deal with tragedy in a different way.
By 2014, 5 years after the murder of Jeremy Simcoe, Julene Simcoe has, by outward appearances, moved on from that shocking event. She lives in a small house 9 miles away from her old home and is socializing, vacationing, and dating. But outward appearances can be deceiving.
Julene is apparently still grieving and keeps a shrine to Jeremy in her house. It's the first thing you see when you come in the front door. And she's even taken a space in the house and created a Zen room, which she fills with mementos of Jeremy and photographs of their life together.
She recalls some details of November 18th, 2009 with crystal clarity.
When I went into the room and he was in the bed there and I shook him. Okay. And then I saw there was blood and then I heard it sounded like I don't know, it sounded like something falling over or I couldn't tell where it was coming from. So I just grabbed the gun.
But other aspects she appears to have completely forgotten. As they peer more closely at Julene Simcoe's behavior in the hours after the murder, investigators hear a shocking allegation from the emergency room nurse who treats Julene that morning.
I asked her, so what's going on? And she mumbled something. I wasn't for sure what I had heard, so I asked her again what she said. I thought that she had said, I shot my husband. And I asked her again, what did you just say? And she said, my husband was shot.
There's a big difference between I shot my husband and somebody shot my husband. But when someone is hysterical and they're crying, it can be hard to understand them. We can understand why the nurse would not want to report what she heard until she was sure.
Julene can't recall having said such a thing. Police try all sorts of tactics to discover the truth. They ask Julene's friend, Jean Marie Becker, to wear a wire and see if she can get Julene to talk without directly asking her whether she's killed her husband.
In my head, it was the right thing to do. Jeremy meant a lot to a lot of people I knew, and I wanted to help those people because they were all hurting.
Jean Marie records hours of conversation with Julene, but gets little actionable information.
The behavior Jean Marie observes gives her conflicting impressions. She can't understand why Julene isn't more interested in finding out new information about Jeremy's killer.
I do remember she never once ever asked, who do you think did it to Jeremy? That's what bothered me. She never asked or never went to the police. It was sort of silence right away.
Jean Marie tells of Julene's visit to a psychic, where the one question she was expecting, who killed my husband, is never asked.
It wasn't about who killed Jeremy. It was about what her future was going to be. And that was something, too, that struck me odd. Because you love somebody and you're together all the time, you would want to know. If it was me, I'd want to know.
Jean Marie also reports that Julene was a fan of a true crime show in which wives snap and kill their husbands.
She was sitting in my house, and we were watching the show, and it was just surreal because we just watched the show, and it was the first debut, and then here you don't want to think that's what happened.
But Julene seems to genuinely miss her husband, just like any other bereaved wife might.
At one point, I did ask her if she had kept anything, and she had a cedar chest, and she pulled out one of Jeremy's shirts, and I'll never forget it. And she smelled it, and she said, "I have this, and it reminds me of Jeremy."
As the investigation wears on, police bring in different experts to consult. Julene's November 18th emergency call is picked apart by two people who have made extensive studies of precisely this sort of call.
Police fire ambulance. I need help. What is going on? Somebody shot my husband.
In order to determine that the caller is actually the criminal, the local police bring in two experts who have analyzed hundreds of 911 calls.
Listening to Julene Simcoe's call, these analysts make a number of observations that seem to point to Julene's guilt. In fact, on the 1 to 10 scale they have developed, Julene scores a perfect 10 for guilt.
But is Julene the type of person who could have killed another human? According to a Simcoe acquaintance, she isn't squeamish about blood and is quite capable of gutting a deer without flinching. Of course, this doesn't make her a murderer, but a family friend tells investigators that Jeremy is proud of his wife's ability with a gun.
How was Julene with the guns? Was she pretty good? I never saw her shoot, but Jeremy described her as a good shot.
Investigators request and receive the targets Julene has shot at when qualifying for her concealed carry permit. Here is proof outside of hearsay that Julene is no slouch with a firearm. But again, this does not connect Julene to the death of her husband in any actionable way.
There's no like smoking gun here other than the initial gun we found, but all these little bitty things just kept piling up on top of another.
The Simcoe's security system plays a part in the investigation. Not by what it warns of, but by what it doesn't.
There's like an ear-piercing screech that goes off from the alarm. Well, every time one of our cars would drive or an agent's car would drive through the crime scene, and if you're in the house, you would hear that. And so if there's an intruder, she claims she didn't hear that, but if the intruder drove off, he would set that alarm off. They all have security cameras, none of them were on. Just too much going on to be believable.
Investigators explore every avenue and give Julene every opportunity to come clean.
Anything you think we've missed?
As in?
Any questions you think I should have asked you that I didn't ask you?
She's not going to speculate as to what you should have asked her. That's your job.
Every detail investigators learn seems to be a strike against Julene. Neighbors report to them that while the four Simcoe dogs usually bark every night, they've been completely silent on the night of the crime. If there has been an intruder, the whole neighborhood would have heard it. So the little things are accumulating. And in Vermilion, Ohio, even civilians have their opinions on the matter.
People didn't really start talking probably until like after 2 to 3 weeks, but everyone was afraid to ask her. I mean, we were just all afraid to ask her. How do you ask that other than what happened?
In the weeks and months following the murder, the local newspapers are full of letters to the editor stating unequivocally that Julene Simcoe is the one who pulled the trigger that November morning.
Naturally, with a case like this, in a smaller community like Vermilion, everyone's going to be a detective and rumors are going to fly. And the talk is that Julene killed her husband. But there is still support for her within the circle of friends that were closest to the Simcoes.
Two of Jeremy's closest friends pledged to give her all the help they can. And if it turns out Julene has indeed killed Jeremy, they decide then they can hate her later.
After years of investigation, the what's and who's are becoming clearer, if not yet provable. But there's still a large blank spot in the Simcoe case. The why. If Julene Simcoe has indeed killed her husband, what can be the motive? The answer is nearly as shocking as the crime itself.
U.S. Money Reserve is proud to announce the television worldwide release of the exclusive 2024 1-ounce Silver Legacy Eagle, crafted under the guidance and leadership of two former U.S. Mint directors, Philip N. Deal and Edmund C. Moy. The Legacy Eagle honors the legacy of the original gold American Eagle design.
Dating back from the earliest years, we really began to focus here in the United States on a family of eagles and that family-oriented value that was expressed in American coinage. And here at U.S. Money Reserve, we're continuing that tradition by having an annual series of family of eagles depicted on our coinage product.
In a spirited tribute to the American family, the Silver Legacy Eagle displays twin eagles in flight, with the obverse featuring a shielded eagle representing the protection of precious metals against the backdrop of a waving American flag. In the center of the design are 3 stars, representing the 3 guiding principles of unity, strength, and prosperity that inspired the coin's creation. Each coin has been expertly crafted using advanced micro-minting technology to provide an exceptional level of detail. Further enhancing the Legacy Eagle design is a stunning reverse-proof finish with polished devices that shine over a frosted field. Pick up the phone and call U.S. Money Reserve today to be part of this exclusive 2024 1-ounce Silver Legacy Eagle release for only $29 per coin. Each Silver Legacy Eagle contains 1 ounce of 0.9999 pure silver and is official legal tender, guaranteed by its issuing government for weight and purity, adding an important layer of additional security to shield your savings and discover the next generation of pure silver coinage. Call now and order your 1-ounce Silver Legacy Eagle today.
At Consumer Cellular, we pride ourselves on giving you fast, reliable nationwide coverage at up to half the cost of the leading carriers. But don't worry, we've got more than that going for us. Like this beautiful store in Arizona, for example. It's the perfect place for me to tell you a little bit more about our phones and how they can become your phones. You name it, we probably got it. We have the top smartphones from all the major companies. If it's state-of-the-art cameras you want, we got them. If you want a smartphone with lots of bells and whistles but won't break the bank, we've got that too. We even have a flip phone, like the Iris Flip. We even have watches. I know what you're thinking. What if I don't have one of these amazing stores in my town yet? Can I get these phones sent to me?
Yes, you can.
Is it easy?
Easy as pie.
New customers save $50 when you sign up today. Call 800-918-5494. Find us in Target or visit consumercellular.com to switch today.
She knows what she's talking about. Pick up the phone.
They were gunned down.
This is a Stone Cold Killer.
Now, determined detectives will have to trace the ballistics to track down their shooter.
We are all hands on deck.
Targeted for murder. Next on True Crime Network.
The brutal shooting of a sleeping man shocks a community. His wife, Julene Simcoe, comes under suspicion. And an epic investigation turns up one strange or shocking detail after another.
When there's a serious crime like murder, there's always one question on people's minds. Why? What would drive somebody to take someone's life to actually commit such a serious crime? Often, the reasons aren't as clear-cut as we would like them to be.
Investigators take a detailed look at the Simcoe's financial picture.
We took financial documents because we had an officer that worked with us. He had worked for the federal government prior, so he was good on tax issues and white-collar type crime. So he actually investigated that aspect to see if there's a financial reason or something to just happen.
We had credit cards. Money was tight, but it's a slow time of the year. We deal with it every year like this. We have retirement money that we could use if we had to. It's just the two of us. Everything was fine.
Though Julene insists they have no particular financial problems, it becomes clear that despite their prosperous tree business, they owe a good deal of money on an array of bills, and that they have been trying to purchase a plot of land behind their own property, but are denied a bank loan to do so.
Other than the property, I mean, you was just trying to buy the property for other than that was a good thing, right? We're trying to expand.
Well, we had some credit card debt and stuff, so they wanted a co-signer, but we already talked to my mom before we even made the deal, and she said she would co-sign for us. So we knew we were gonna get the property one way or another, because it butts up against our property. But we're stressed out about it, but because we really wanted to have it.
Financial pressures have put a terrible strain on many a relationship. Could they have been the breaking point for the Simcoes?
Whether or not that was one motive, I'm not sure. But that property was great.
At the crime scene, police have discovered a wide array of marital aids and explicit photos and videos, mostly highlighting Julene in various sexual situations. These give investigators another avenue of exploration in their search for a motive.
Was Julene really a willing participant in these activities? In some of the photographs, it didn't look like she was.
Is this something that started right away, or?
I don't really remember, like, at what point.
I mean, is this something that is years old, or is this something that is months old?
I think it was something that we probably had for a while.
Who introduced this into the relationship?
We both did.
Was there somebody that had the original idea that said, hey, you know, why don't we do this?
I don't really remember. It was a mutual.
She never claimed that she was sexually abused or physically abused by, she didn't say she was a battered wife. She didn't claim that she was forcibly raped or sexually molested in any way.
Individuals have said they were at your house, and Jeremy would often order you around, asking you to get certain pictures of you so he could show them to his guests.
What kind of pictures and whom are these guests?
Well, at this time, I'm not going to reveal the guest's name, but I just wanted to know.
I can't answer a question, and I don't know who said what and what was being looked at.
That kind of situation, and you don't recall.
We know the videos were not Julene's idea. One of Jeremy's co-workers showed him some videotapes he'd made with his wife, where they were having explicit sex. The next thing Julene knows, Jeremy takes this idea home with him, and she's suddenly an amateur video star, whether she wants to be or not.
But Julene never wavers from her claim that she is not any kind of victim in her relationship with Jeremy.
There are videos of you where pain is being inflicted upon you and you're crying. Are you saying that you are a willing participant for all of that?
I was a willing participant in everything that went on.
The question one has to ask is what was going on in Julene's mind? Was she truly okay with this, or did she feel demeaned, debased, and humiliated?
He didn't domineer over me in day-to-day life. So, I mean, we both had our strengths and we both had our weaknesses in business and in skills.
Human beings are incredibly complex creatures. It's possible that Julene was thinking two ways about this at the same time. Maybe in some ways she was drawn to her role, but in other ways she resented it, and she resented Jeremy for making her go through with it. Sometimes a damaged human psyche is like a tinder pile. At any moment it can burst into flame, go completely out of control. All it needs is that one little spark. Thanks to something investigators discover on the Simcoe computer, they have a good guess just what that spark might be.
What does searching for a Medicare plan feel like?
It's kind of confusing.
It's so complicated.
You just get bombarded every day.
You get tons of mail, tons of calls. It's annoying.
It's a pain. It's really difficult.
It's daunting.
eHealth is a less stressful way to find health insurance. To prove it, we found people looking for a new Medicare plan, and we monitored everyone's stress. Your mission today is to find a Medicare Advantage plan that fits you. Half did it by searching the usual way. So on this side, you all get to use everything on the whole internet, except for eHealth. The other half did it by matching with eHealth. On this side, you guys all get to use eHealth.com. You can even call eHealth. On your mark, get set, go find a Medicare match. And you can find your Medicare match by calling this number. You'll speak to an advisor at eHealth who wants to help save you money. Or get started at eHealth.com. Now, let's talk about why you want to call eHealth. Maybe it feels like you pay too much for too little. Maybe your current plan is changing, or your needs are changing. Either way, now is the time of year you can do something about it. Compare plans that cover your doctors, your prescriptions, your pharmacy, and your budget. Compare your current plan to newer plans, and compare them side by side. Because eHealth carries plans from the nation's top insurance companies. The same plans at the same price as them. They pay us to help you find a match. That's how eHealth is always a free service. So, find your match and enroll any way you like. Call and speak to a real-life advisor, or get started at eHealth.com. Now, let's check in on those two groups, searching and matching.
How's everybody doing? Searching side?
Trying.
How much time do we have? I mean, this could take days. This could days.
eHealth side, are you making some matches?
What I really like about this is it told me this is my top pick and told me why.
This is great. This is really slick.
For people searching the usual way, stress levels stayed high. For those using eHealth, stress went down.
It was so simple compared to what she went through.
I loved it. Thumbs up.
I was able to immediately, within a few minutes, pull up the best plans for me.
It gives you the opportunity to compare side by side the various plans.
Of the top three, I found two that were better than the ones I got.
Well, I learned that I have sort of been ripping myself off with my current plan.
Looking like they could possibly save me quite a bit of money.
Compare all-in-one plans, all in one place. eHealth.
Call 1-800-806-9103 or go to eHealth.com to compare Medicare plans in your area.
eHealth, your Medicare matchmaker.
Attention, anyone 50 or older. This is an important message for you.
Mom, I found this funeral bill for $10,000. How are we going to pay for that?
Before we lost your father, I set up a final expense life insurance plan for us to use to cover the funeral, debts, and other expenses.
How does the life insurance plan pay for all of that?
Easy. I qualified for $1 million in coverage. So when my time comes, you can use that money for my funeral and other expenses that I may leave behind.
How are you affording that on a fixed income?
Would you believe I qualified for a plan that costs less than $1 a day? I didn't have to go see a doctor, and all I had to do was make one phone call, and I was approved.
If you're over 50, you qualify for a life insurance policy up to $1 million to cover funeral, debts, and other expenses. The average funeral costs about $10,000, but now for just pennies a day, you can help protect your loved ones from unexpected costs and debts. With our guaranteed acceptance, you're automatically approved even if you have pre-existing health conditions. Best of all, your rates will never increase, your benefits will never decrease, and your coverage will never be canceled. There's no paperwork, hidden fees, or waiting period. With one call, in as little as 5 minutes, you can start your coverage right over the phone and qualify for options ranging between $10,000 up to $1 million in coverage, tax-free. You're just one phone call away from protecting your family, starting for less than $1 a day. Don't leave your family with bills to pay when you're gone. Give them the peace of mind they deserve. Call 800-814-4857 to make sure your loved ones are protected with plans up to $1 million in coverage.
Thank you for making sure that we're secure. I love you.
I love you too. I just want to make sure that you're protected when I'm gone.
Call 800-814-4857. That's 800-814-4857. Policy Fetch. Fetch your policy, find your peace.
A wife is suspected of murder in a small Ohio town. Public opinion turns against her, and police are feeling the pressure. And the key to her motive is still a mystery. The accumulation of small inculpatory detail is finally enough for investigators to press their case to a judge.
I don't know if defense attorney and the people realize, but we took great lengths to treat her fairly with dignity, get her some help when she could, and not jump to conclusions. So we took our time before we started focusing on her as a suspect. We had to question her, but it was a while before we said, hey, this is probably who did it.
But if she's done it, Why had she done it? The couple's energetic sexual habits seem to be a factor, but in what way? A look at the computer search records on the night before the murder appears to provide a clue.
Tragically, when she was just a young girl, Jolene Simcoe was sexually abused by her own father. He was convicted of this crime and died while he was still in prison. Now in her marriage, when she should feel safe, she's forced to simulate sexual abuse and has a contract that says it's a daddy-daughter relationship. It's hard to even imagine how this would impact her self-worth. Someone at the Simcoe house had spent part of the evening, the night before the murder, looking at the obituary of Jolene's abusive father.
Why would that be, and who would do that?
Well, first of all, I would like to see that, proof of that, because I don't think that ever happened.
Well, we have that proof.
Well, I'd like to see it. I'd like to see what time it was and everything else.
Oh, let me tell you exactly.
Jolene never admits she's been the one looking at the obituary, nor does she admit to any lingering trauma from the abuse.
So roughly 11 hours before your husband is shot, a person that you have a father-daughter, master-slave relationship, role play, as you say, someone pulls up the obituary of the very person that had a father-daughter sexual relationship with you. That makes one wonder if there's a nexus here or a tie-in with this. I mean, you can understand how we might be concerned about that.
I can understand. I'm telling you, I am not the one that...
Okay. Is there any reason Jeremy would have done that?
No idea.
Does anybody ever come in your home and use your computers? Mm-hmm. Who does that?
We've had friends use the computers before.
Okay.
Nor, finally, does she ever admit to killing her husband.
Obviously, I didn't shoot Jeremy. I didn't kill my husband. So obviously somebody else was in the house.
Okay.
And they weren't there for any good purposes.
Investigators focus their questioning on the murder weapon that is found on the floor of the Simcoe kitchen.
You'll notice that you get splashback or blowback onto the weapon. Okay. So someone took the time in between the time Jeremy was shot to clean that weapon of any blowback. If we assume your theory that there is an intruder in the home, don't you think the intruder would be in a hurry to leave if he heard the shots that you fired?
I would say, yeah.
But yet this intruder gained access to the house without setting off the door alarm, without being caught on the camera, without setting off any of the driveway alarm, without making any of the dogs bark, without being noticed by any outside sources, without forcing entry into the home, has made his way into a darkened home, has found a gun on a curio cabinet that bears only your DNA, removes a gun from a holster, goes upstairs to the room where you and Jeremy typically sleep together. That person has to lean across the bed, get within 2 inches of Jeremy's head, pull the trigger, shoot him in the back of the head, taking his life instantaneously. Then he lays the gun on the floor. There is no damage to the floor from the gun. There is no damage to the gun from the floor. So he lays the gun on the floor, then again mysteriously exits the residence through the open back kitchen door, again doesn't set off the driveway alarm, doesn't set off the dogs barking.
And you're assuming how all this happened because you don't know. Nor do I know what transpired. You're assuming somebody went out the back door. You're assuming...
Every other door was secured.
We basically just continued investigating it. And as leads would come up, we followed them. But we could never establish a clear-cut motive as to why it happened. They actually did a, we'll call it PowerPoint production, for lack of a better term. It was a computer-generated presentation. So it put dogs barking, the alarms, the closeness, everything kind of into context to kind of wrap it up, because like I say, it's kind of a confusing case. So to present it coherently to the grand jury so they can see what's going on. So that's when they were able to get the indictment. Then it probably took another year or two to go to trial.
After 5 years of investigation, Jolene Simcoe is finally arrested and charged with the murder of her husband.
She had a series of pre-trials and motions and things of that nature as it wound its way through the legal process. And then ultimately she chose to go before Judge Betlesky without a jury, just have a bench trial.
A major factor in the trial is, of course, the murder weapon. Forensic investigation proves that it's the gun on the kitchen floor that has been used for the killing, and then has been wiped down and placed carefully onto the floor.
That was my theory. I think she wanted to distract us by doing that.
One aspect of the police response gets some attention at the trial. Does the sergeant, who's first in the door at the Simcoe residence, inadvertently destroy some evidence while picking up the gun on the kitchen floor?
And this was a key part of the trial because you could go to a call of a shooting, you see a gun laying there, pretty much have to secure it because they didn't know if there was a shooter in the house.
The officer's actions are deemed entirely appropriate, and the judge determines there is no shortage of additional evidence.
The jury trial, the jurors make all the rulings on the facts of the case. So the fact about did she shoot him because she was close, things of this nature, those are issues of fact where the jury would determine. Then issues of law, a judge would determine. Did we read her our rights? She was never taken into custody, so the rights issue didn't come up. But did we have a proper search warrant? Did we maintain chain of custody? There was all legal issues. So the judge decides the legal issues, the jury decides the factual issues. But when you have a bench trial, the judge decides everything.
In this case, the judge decides that the accumulated evidence is overwhelming and that Julian Simcoe has killed her husband.
Because whoever killed him was laying very close to him. It was one shot to the head. Again, there was like no forced entry, no strange DNA, no other suspects other than her.
She went to jail, and I honestly think she didn't think she was going to jail because it had been so long, and that was that. And it was a shock to her when they took her. And she looked back, and I just put my head down, and I had to get out of there.